sky starts to change, yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never be the same again.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we here on the finale of Raw on USA, the last episode on network TV for the past 30 years for Monday Night Raw. Will it continue the numbers? We'll find out on Netflix next week on the new year, because this is also the finale of season 1 of Weebs of the Ring. This is episode 100. We'll cover Mondays through Friday of Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown on the past 10 months since, I believe, March is what I wrote down, I believe. It's been a long time coming. We here for the end of the year 2024, and for this Monday Night Raw episode, we had the face-to-face of CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins. They had the showdown. They had the conversation. Who won that battle? Who won this mic work? Who won this fucking promo? We'll talk about it. That's our headline story. And then our mid-card story is the continuation of the IC title tournament of the semifinals that's leading up to next week. We had the Dakota Kai versus Zoe Stark. Io Sky versus Lyra Valkyria. And then we had the match that we've been waiting for and asking for that finally, hopefully, had a closed book of Chad Gable versus Otis. And then the Judgment, the shenanigans. Jay Uso came by in the beginning of Raw and gave his moment of the New Day sucks. And then the last couple things that ended the night that we have a quick fire. Other than that, let's talk about the last episode of Raw on USA and episode 100 of Weebs of the Ring.
With anime in our souls and thoughts of wrestling out of control, we are a duo of weebs who love the entertainment of professional wrestling. So allow us to be the voices inside of your head as we go through the wrestling event of the evening, give our thoughts and predictions on what's to come, and provide an experience inclusive to all nerds. Grab your steel chair, yell for the table, and get put through an experience like none other. Brought to you by Anime Wii Studios. This is the Weebs of the Ring podcast. And today, I am here to introduce myself first, which is the genius of the mat, Drop This Box, and my other partner in crime that's going to be joining me today to talk about this last episode of Raw on USA is the visionary legend, the Vash. How are you doing tonight?
It's a great night. To me, Raw was far exceeding my expectation of this last episode. I feel like it was a great episode. They hit on all cylinders in the woman wrestling, the promo work, the story progression. I feel like this was a great way to end on USA. If you aren't on our Discord, I was chatting up with Walk is asking the questions like, "Hey, are they gonna still continue the numbers of next week? Is this still kind of a new season, or is it like a reboot? We're starting over, new season." Those are questions on my end, but I had a great time with this episode of Raw, and I'm really curious to see how it goes for the next Raw episode. We saw also in the chat that they have said that it'll be going from 2 to 3 hours, and I'm okay with that. They're flexible. Not every show needs to be 3 hours. Not every show needs to be 2 hours flat. So that's something that hopefully they try to work around with. Depending on the story of the night, they could exceed to where they could end or cut it short. So that's one thing I hope they experiment the next couple months.
Definitely, for sure, because one of the things I am looking forward to the most, that I'm pretty confident that they'll probably do now that they're streaming on Netflix, is that they can actually have some time to balance certain things out when it comes to opening segments, when it comes to matches, when it comes to closing out the show or backstage segments. It gives me a good feeling inside that since things are flexible now and they can end it whenever they need to, they don't have to worry about like a movie or a TV show coming on after the program's over. Like, I feel like this is telling us that if they want to give the amount of time that they need to do that's in the script of the show, then they're able to do it. So that does make me feel good when it comes to the overall future heading into next Monday for Netflix, which is pretty exciting. I mean, around Christmas time, I got like around $200 in like Netflix gift cards because my family knew that Raw was heading to Netflix. They knew that obviously I was going to be watching that all the time along with other family members in my house. And of course, along with other TV shows that I can watch along the side whenever, I'm trying to entertain myself throughout the week or whatever the case may be. But I am very interesting to see like how the whole structure is going to be. Like, one thing for sure that I am looking forward to is like the new layout when it comes to like the matches that they're setting up, because I feel like it definitely feels dated. If you look at SmackDown and you look at how things look in NXT, I think I'm more of a fan of how like the whole match lineups look when they're putting who against who in SmackDown. Like, the one of the things I do like that they are doing at SmackDown that I want them to do on Raw, which I'm hoping they do. It'd be kind of weird if they don't, is like the moving graphics. Like you saw on Friday where they show the moving graphic for like Naomi and Nia Jax match. Like, I'm hoping they have certain things like that structured out. Like, obviously you're going to expect Netflix to get the best production and graphics cards because, I mean, that's their baby right there. That's the A show. So
my guess that with SmackDown, the reason we have gotten their new graphics over the past, like, I think since August, since they've been experimenting with this type of graphics, is because they already knew that they was going to stay on USA for a while. Well, Netflix, the reason I don't think they have evolved their graphics yet on USA the past 3 months is because I think
ones.
Yes, exactly, the match ones. Because I think they were waiting for the reveal once they move on to Netflix, just to pop in all the new graphics, all the new stuff, like just waiting to go like all on cylinders. I'm just like, we're both on the like, all right, what are they gonna show us? Yeah. What are they gonna change? What is Triple H gonna do different with the camera work now that they don't have to worry about? Ones. Exactly, like about the commercial, the ad time, like they could just go free all out. So I'm really curious to see where they fail with the WWE network back almost 10 years ago, or where they first tried to do that with their vision. And at the time, probably it was too early or too soon with that type of idea. Now they're probably trying to rework that, reinvent what they could have done to now with the current technology with streaming and everything. So I'm really curious to see what they could do with Netflix. They have already been promoting it to me on my app, and they're telling me like, Raw coming on Netflix, go watch it, save it already, have it bookmarked. So it shows that they're already pushing it every week now. So I'm very excited to see that. It's also kind of weird to see it like, damn, Raw on Netflix, like that's kind of fire.
Mm-hmm.
So like to me, that was something that was pretty cool about the aspect when it comes to the graphics. So I get what you're saying, but at the end, we're just gonna wait and see. Oh, we already got the new logo on the Raw Netflix. By the way, I'm not sure if we have spoken about it before, but it looks pretty, pretty decent. I wish. I can't wait to see the transition of the next couple of years with Raw Netflix. How will the logos change every year or so on? So I just can't wait and see what Raw Netflix does for us.
Yeah, I know we also have to keep in mind when it comes to like the overall structure if things are gonna be lagging or not, which I'm pretty sure they had the time to like review that after the whole Jake Paul and Mike Tyson
Yeah,
fight. I mean, they had more than enough time to like go over that and make sure they don't run into an issue like that because I mean that was like an obvious complaint that was spread across online. So obviously they took that into account and they're gonna fix that. So I'm not like that really bothered by that entirely. Like that's the least of my worries when it comes to that shit. Because that's like a fucking obvious thing to fix if there's issues with it. Like that's not something you ignore. I'm just more interested into like the whole like the overall like product change when it comes to what we're diving into. But
yeah.
we
It's
might
gonna
as
be really interesting with the cross promotion as well because for those on the USA, I mean for those that lives on the US soil and everything, we will be getting Raw on Netflix, but then with NXT and SmackDown will still be on USA, but then the PLEs will still be on Peacock for the rest of 2025 until 2026. That's when some other things will be transferred over to Netflix. So there's also gonna be a lot of jumping around for like the next couple of 12 months in watching your pro wrestling because also HBO Max will be having AEW. So a lot of kind of jumping around, which is kind of annoying, but it's gonna be interesting of going from one platform to another and the cross promotion.
Yeah, I mean that's just something that we're gonna have to get used to because we should have expected that they were gonna head down this direction eventually because obviously cable's not gonna be lasting forever. Not that many people really use cable as it is anymore. I mean a lot of the things that you see people use is all these different kinds of streaming websites when it comes to like Netflix or Hulu or um Disney Plus, etc. so on. So it's like that's something that we knew was gonna hit us eventually down the line, and WWE and other companies were gonna take part of that as well, like you mentioned, AEW and Max. So it was only a matter of time before we ventured down that route. And yeah, I do remember the WWE Network all those years ago. It's honestly been quite some time since I used that. I still remember I had like my Xbox 360 when I used that all those years ago.
Oh, damn, it was on it. I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Wow, yeah,
that's
because
how
it
I
lasted.
watched it.
It's because it lasted a couple of years on the USA, but then it went only internationally, and that was annoying as hell because whatever reason, distribution or things that behind things that we don't know understand. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
But getting into our headline story, just in case you guys are new here and you haven't came across a video of ours before, uh, there's some people out there that normally like talking about the show from start to finish, basically going over like how the show opened, what happened in the middle, and what closed it. We do something a little bit different here, where we actually talk about the headline stories, obviously something that people want to tune in to hear about first when it comes to that angle that closes off the show, like you guys clearly saw tonight. And then we start diving into other things and we work our way down. And our headline story for tonight is CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for Netflix on Raw, which has been something that they've been hyping up for weeks. And like I mentioned before, at first, I wasn't the biggest fan of this only because I thought they were saving this for Mania. So I didn't really expect them to really have a match like this, but there's been a lot of reports lately where a lot of things are changing and we might potentially get CM Punk and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania due to the social media numbers, which they do take an account when it comes to a lot of these things nowadays. I mean, obviously, if you see engagement like that, I mean, if I was WWE, I would probably lean towards that because that's what's going to make me the most money at the end of the day. Nothing against Seth Rollins, but they saw those numbers and they obviously want to lean towards that. And since it's like a really hot topic right now, they definitely want to lean towards that. But we basically had this as our main event tonight, where we had one final face-off that they promoted on the show tonight when it came to CM Punk and Seth Rollins in the ring. And before I hand over the mic to Vash, one thing I do want to say first, so we can go back and forth and talk about this. The one thing I do want to say first, I really did like about this. I like how this conversation between Seth Rollins and CM Punk felt organic. And what I mean by that is it kind of felt like they were shooting when they were having that back and forth with one another, because there was a lot of things thrown in there that I didn't really expect them to say when they were going back and forth with one another. Like, besides the whole "you're a cancer, you left the company," etc., so on. I mean, there was Colt Cabana references in there was AEW references in there, and sometimes you shouldn't feel afraid to dive into that, because that just adds to the intensity of the back and forth, and it just makes it feel real. We're all used to seeing like a lot of cinema within WWE, and obviously you do that when it counts. You don't have to like push that if it doesn't need it. But sometimes just having a back and forth where two guys hate each other, it works out just as best or even better. Well, what
I
is your
agree.
like initial thoughts on that?
My initial thoughts is I love the promo. I'm gonna say out right now. I believe CM Punk won this promo mic work between himself and Seth for this night. They were both great with their story. I agree that the intensity is what really made it impactful. Like, one of my favorite lines was it was from CM Punk saying, "I love the place I work. I just hated the guy in charge, but he loved you." Just the emphasis on the lines, just the profanity of the body language, showing the kind of way they both hate each other, but both respect each other. Because in the beginning of the promo as well, they spoke a lot about Big Brother and Little Brother. So it showed the admiration of one another, but still not liking one another because of how they both have egotistic attitudes. So it really showed the past and present going at each other.
Yeah.
And I really love that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that too. I mean, that's why I said it's always best to just let these guys go out there and have fun. And I'm not sure if I like pointed this out earlier. I'll actually bring it up on my phone. This is actually something that was said from Chris Featherstone earlier this evening. Shout out to Chris Featherstone. I highly doubt you're watching this, but he did say something very interesting earlier, where he was mentioning when it comes to the overall production of like these segments within so and so. I'm gonna read the report. So, oh yeah, right here. So he said he made a report earlier saying there are talent backstage in WWE who are really focused on getting a feel of the crowd and going with their gut with what's given by the creative team in order to generate stories that come off as more authentic and not scripted. This is a theme that will go into the Netflix era with these storylines. And I feel like we got a preview of that. And this guy's been spot on. I'm not sure if you guys heard of him. He's been spot on a lot of shit. So shout out to him. But you can definitely feel that. Like that thing I just read right there from Chris Featherstone, when I mentioned how these segments are going to feel, when it comes to the stories, they're going to feel more authentic and not scripted, because like I mentioned earlier when we jumped into this, when it came to CM Punk and Seth Rollins, it felt like they were shooting. It felt like they were getting out a lot of frustration, a lot of stuff that was like really eating them up inside, and they just let out. So I feel like we definitely got a preview right here. We're going to see that being carried on throughout that Netflix era. That makes me super excited to see. I mean, obviously Drew McIntyre has been doing that for a while. Shout out to him as well. So it's not like it's the first time you see it, but it's good that we're getting things like that, because sometimes when you take that approach and you tell these stories this way, it hits harder, like we saw tonight. But I think one of my favorite lines that I really did like, that definitely got a crack out of me, and my mom came up to me at first because she didn't know who Punk was referencing, but it was when Punk was saying, "I hated the guy in charge, but he loved you." Like you mentioned before, obviously that's Vince, and obviously if you guys know about CM Punk over the years when it comes to his relationship with Vince McMahon, obviously they didn't get along. Obviously he didn't like what Vince did. I mean, nobody likes Vince. At the end of the day, he's a piece of shit. Just gonna come out and say it. You guys want to hear our thoughts on the whole documentary? We got that recorded couple months ago if you guys want to hear our thoughts on that. But it's like we obviously know the story there. And with Seth Rollins being this corporate guy, I mean, Seth Rollins is being pushed so much. You mentioned that you missed like the 2019 era of WWE, which is considered probably the worst year of WWE.
Yes,
Seth
I
Rollins,
mean,
Seth Rollins.
the exact number, I would give it 2016, 2017 to like 2021.
Yeah, so
roughly
basically what I'm trying to say is like Seth Rollins around that point, the way that his character was pushed when it comes to a creative point, it was pushed down your throats, almost like you had to like this guy. You didn't have any other choice, but you had to like this guy. So he's pretty much like a yes man doing everything that Vince wanted him to do. And that's basically what Punk was saying. And then the whole AEW reference, like I mentioned earlier, when it came to, oh, you went over there and
competition.
You went over there to competition. You got some change out of that. How did that work out for you? Obviously, if you know the story between CM Punk and AEW, I mean, if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. You might be living under a rock. But you obviously know what happened there. So it's nice that we're getting stuff like that brought up within this segment itself because it just feels real. And that's what it's meant to be when you're watching stuff like this on television, when you're seeing these back and forth between these certain wrestlers. So it's like...
I was gonna say one of my favorite lines talking about with a CM Punk is you bring the fist full of arrows and I bring my eyes of fire and my heart full of hate and rage and I'll burn you to the ground. I really love this analogy because it went full circle towards the previous conversation talking about how with CM Punk, he's been getting arrows for everyone for the past 10 years. And I mean, past 20 years in his career, the past 10 years, he's been finally letting the arrows go off his back. And he said in the last 3 years, he finally recovered from his back. He's finally good. He's finally feeling better after all that. He's willing to attack now with full fist of those arrows in return. So I really love how it just went full circle explaining that because a lot of people was pointing fingers at CM Punk. People spread rumors of how he's not the best guy to work with, all these things. The stories of with, right back and other people saying that about CM Punk and to show that the fans still love him, and that's what was important. Even the line with CM Punk when he told Seth, they even screamed my name during your TV time. And I love that shit. It burned his sticks, but it's fucking true.
Yeah, I mean, even when he's not there, like I still remember all those years ago when I was watching the product, that did indeed happen whenever Seth was out there. They used to chant his name all the time. So it's not like Punk pulled that out of his ass. That was legit a thing that happened. Even when something was boring on WWE all those years ago, they kept chanting Punk's name over and over again, even if he's not there. Like, I even remember there was one Raw episode where Stephanie McMahon even acknowledged it and just insulted his UFC career and stuff like that because of how that went. So it's like they've always been there for years on end. But this was something that we definitely needed when it came to the final face-off between these two before we get the match. And just seeing how things were showcased right here. And I know the rumored match for Mania is CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, which if I was a betting man, I would go with that one, only because it probably would draw the most money. Not taking anything away from Seth, but you look at it from a business perspective, it would be the money match. But just seeing like how things went between both of these guys, it honestly makes me want to see it more. Like, it just feels like after this moment between Seth and Punk next week, that's not going to be the last stop. Like, there has to be more story between these two. You can't just end it right there in a match. Like, maybe you get another match at it doesn't really make sense to get another. I don't know. Like, it doesn't really make sense to get another match at Royal Rumble because both of them would want to be a part of the fucking thing. They wouldn't want to be in a separate match with one another. So it's
very curious because you bring up a good point. For last year, we thought for months and months in advance that it was going to be Cody versus Roman, but then The Rock happened. But we knew that with CM Punk coming back, it was going to be exactly
gave us final boss.
Exactly. But that aside, we had with CM Punk versus Seth. Everyone thought, all right, It didn't happen because CM Punk got injured during the Royal Rumble. Triceps, cool. Let's hold off until next year. Now that they announced this for Raw on Netflix, as is kind of the small type of mini WrestleMania, which is cool. I love this. Great opportunity for the Raw on Netflix to feel like it's holding the best and all stars of the pro wrestling entertainment of Raw. Great. But then now it takes the big match that we've been expecting for of CM Punk versus Seth at WrestleMania now. So what could be the alternative? Could it be Roman versus CM Punk? Possibly, just depending on what that could lead up to or what's the favor
Yeah.
that CM Punk asks for and what it can lead up to or why they are going to go one-on-ones against each other. Because now we're going to have Paul Heyman in the middle of this. So it's going to be very curious to see how that all leads up, of how that leads up to. Lastly, you said something about what would it be happening if they want to go, whoever loses, they probably want a rematch to have it fair and square or have it 2 out of 0.
Yeah.
Royal Rumble is a great point, but then you cannot even push it now to WrestleMania because now it feels like unless you're gonna do a 2 out of 3, then possibly. But it's kind of weird push. So I'm really curious to see once we step into January, it'll be easier to kind of theorize of where we're gonna lead into for the next 4 months. Because right now I have more questions than answers. So it's tough to kind of be like, what path can we lead up to? Because right now, exactly like you said, the final buzz happened within January until the 3rd, 4th week of February. So all that of 8 weeks it was a lot of unpredictability. So with this promo work, great that we finally got it. We knew that we was gonna get this. Now we transition into Raw and Netflix with this promo work. I can't wait to see how it's gonna be. Wait, question: Have they added a stipulation or is it just a regular match?
Just a regular match. But there's
Damn,
also
that's crazy that they didn't add a stipulation.
No. But there's also a part of me as well thinking like whoever wins the match, if it's Seth or Punk, more than likely the winner of that match has to get a title opportunity with Gunther because Gunther doesn't really know who his next opponent is. So by default, you would think whoever comes out as the victor and Seth or Punk would probably have that match with Gunther. So Gunther has somebody lined up with him. And then you got to question, okay, how does this like progress the story further between CM Punk and Seth Rollins? That's why there's a lot of things thrown in there. Like you got to keep in mind as well. These are rumors at the end of the day, and I'm pretty sure Triple H has like 2 to 3 to 4 different WrestleMania cards in his head, so he knows hypothetically, knock on wood, someone gets injured, he could pivot to that plan because he probably wants to structure things a lot better. Because if you remember Mania last year, like around that time, we got a lot of injuries heading into that event. So thankfully, Drew, Cody, and a couple others were there to participate in that Mania. Like you remember that scare with Seth Rollins when he had that match with Jinder Mahal earlier this year. A lot of people were concerned that Seth Rollins was going to drop the belt because that plan of that match, just to let you know, Cody was going to win the Rumble, and then CM Punk was going to win the Chamber so he can get that opportunity with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. But since things headed south with CM Punk when he got that injury after the Royal Rumble, they had to pivot to Drew. So you would think in your head realistically, and I'm pretty sure Triple H had a separate plan around the time as well, but you would think he probably has 2 to 3 to 4 different Mania cards lined up just in case things like that happen again, which is a smart business move at the end of the day. But I'm honestly, like, I'm just really curious the most to see exactly, like, what's the next step for both of these guys, like, after this match. Like, that's the real question, because you can't just have, like, a victor and it's over. Like, you got to have something else that really reels you in, kind of like you put a worm on a fishing rod and you're, like, out there in the ocean trying to get some fish, or you're at a lake or something. Like, you got to have something else to reel in, and it can't just be, okay, I win, let's move on from this. Because when I look at Seth Rollins and CM Punk, it's hard for me to look at it as like a one-off match. Like, I can't see it just ending right there and everything's done, especially with this ongoing story with CM Punk wanting to main event WrestleMania, and Seth Rollins knows he wants to do that in his head. So theoretically, he would want to ruin CM Punk's chances as much as he possibly can, so he can't achieve that goal. So there's a lot of directions to really go down with this. So they did say, and Triple H did mention in the Netflix press conference that January 6th does begin the road to WrestleMania. So a lot of the stuff that we're asking right now is going to be answered in 7 days.
Exactly. That's why I asked if there was a stipulation, because with two big guys like this, there is no end results. There is no type of whoever wins, who gets the pin, will get this opportunity, or becomes number one at the Royal Rumble, or become number 30 is what I meant. So like all these type of questions, like these guys are gonna go ham. They hate each other. They're not gonna stop. Are they gonna stop at a 10 count? I mean, at a 10 count. So like I'm really curious to see how this match will go. Like, I'm very excited for this. Do not take it for granted. This match is something that I'm excited for. By the way, quick reminder, chat as well. Myself and Walkers will be doing a sidecast for Raw on Netflix on that day on January 6th. So stay tuned as well on our twitch.tv/AnimalWeek3 studio, where we'll be doing a sidecast for that as well.
Yeah, it should be a big show. I mean, a lot of stuff happening there. Obviously, we'll go through it as we talk about the show tonight. But other than what we discussed right here, do you have any other thoughts on Seth Rollins, CM Punk, besides what we went over already? For me, I said my part. I don't really think I have.
Yeah, for me as well. I just want to say what Chet said. Seth was our savior back then, was the only person that we could have tolerated in the company, the only one who kept pushing the company forward through the dog food. Yes, Walkers is talking about, I believe 2019 is what he's referencing about.
Yeah.
And yes, Walkers, hopefully you have a voice button to be back on the show, because it's going to be a good time. Then that's a week from now. So yes, hopefully, because it'll be a great time and a great experience to see the first Raw on Netflix. But do I have any other thoughts for this? No, I'm just very excited for what the future holds for January 6th for them, and I can't wait.
Yeah. So moving to one of our many mid-card stories, we got a continuation of the semifinals for the women's IC title tournament. We're going to be talking about two of those matches. The very first match that we're going to be talking about tonight is Dakota Kai versus Zoe Stark. And I'll admit, when I was jumping into this match at first, because I'm so used to how WWE does this formula all the time, I was originally expecting Zoe Stark to go over in this match. So I like how there's some unpredictability within this match itself, because one thing I can say is that Zoe did progress in this match, and it was her and Lyra.
She did.
Then it's pretty much like a one and done, where you're like in your head, oh yeah, Lyra's taking the cake with this. But now there's like a little unpredictability here, where it could go to either Dakota or Lyra. And obviously I'll get my thoughts on the next match of how I expect things to pan out. But I heard a lot of discussion on the timeline, and I do agree with what I've seen with a lot of people. But a lot of people did mention on the timeline that this is probably one of Dakota's best singles matches in a long time. And Dakota doesn't always get as much time on the show to really showcase what she's truly capable of. And this tournament itself definitely showcased, what she's capable of and what she could bring to the table. She's not just there to staying alongside Kairi and Io and Asuka. She can actually go out there and do things on her own. And I really liked how they actually gave the girls some time to showcase what they're capable of within the match itself.
I agree with that, because I'm not saying I'm not a fan or am a fan of Dakota Kai, but I've seen her throughout the years. I've grown a fan of her. I've seen her content on Twitch as well with Zelina Vega as well. So I've seen her type of content. I see that she has a good energy. She's loved by the fans. The fans want her to do more. But it sucks that on my end, I've seen a few of the hypocrisy of the fans as well, that people criticize her, that she's, accidental prone, that she's been out for a couple of times. Yeah. Injury prone. Thank you for the correct word terminology. So seeing that, I'm just happy that the fans are saying this now, that this was one of her best matches in the past couple of months or past couple of years. Either way, to me, as a fan of pro wrestling and women wrestling, this was a great match for my eyes in entertainment when it came to Dakota Kai and Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark, both of them did a fantastic job, and I expect how good it was going to be. I thought, like you drop, I thought Zoe Stark was gonna win as well in this match.
Yeah, that's what I
I
thought.
I thought that would have been the turn of events, but honestly, this came out a lot better than I expected, and I was very happy about this when it comes to, um, with Dakota Kai and Zoe Stark. I felt like she was a bit nervous in the beginning. I don't know with the way she was moving. Like, girl was a bit hesitant, but
Mhm.
it just showed like, hey, probably it was her first time out there, on the floor without Io Sky or Kairi Sane no more in a bit. So girl was probably, just having a bit of butterflies. That's my assumption from what I saw. Either way, the match was phenomenal. I didn't expect how good it's gonna be, and I'm glad Zoe Stark had his own because I believe this was also a fight that was commercial free as well. There was a commercial for this one, and as a viewer who hates that shit when it comes to the commercials, it was enjoyable to actually see the fight, just to the fullest. Very enjoyable.
Yeah, because you got a lot of picture tonight
Yeah, that too.
throughout the
So
entirety of the show. Really,
yeah, most of the last hour. So very congrats to Dakota Kai in this aspect. And Watkins did say, especially with the interview in the back with Damage Control, being like, "We want to face each other in the finals." Nice work. I agree. I thought it was gonna be Dakota Kai and Io Sky, and I'm glad it isn't, because it will. But it could have been like a little nice type of friendly rivalry as well.
yeah. But one of the things I will say about like Zoe Stark, and is I feel like, and this is, I'm gonna sound like a broken record when I say this, but they do need to break up Pure Fusion Collective, because this match itself clearly shows that Zoe Stark could go out there and have a good match because she is a really good wrestler, but not a lot
Yes.
of people are really gonna see her in that way if she's a part of this faction. And this faction isn't really going anywhere. It's only hurting them in the end.
No purpose.
And sometimes when things don't work out, you gotta drop it and move on from something else. You could easily do an angle where either one gets frustrated with one another, they decide to break it off. But you could clearly see that Zoe can go out there and put on a good match. But because she's with Pure Fusion Collective, she has that name attached to her, so a lot of people aren't going to really tune in and really pay attention to whatever they're doing just because of how their overall presentation is on the television screen. So hopefully sometime within 2025 we can move past that. But Dakota Kai, definitely for sure. She was the one I wanted jumping into this thing. I only felt like it was Zoe just based on the structure they do, but Dakota Kai advancing in here to be a part of the finales, that was really good to see. And I do know that Dakota's not doing the chiropractor anymore, because I do know when she does that move, that was one of the many reasons that led her to get the injuries that she has. So she had to put out a new finisher for her to execute so she can hit a different move, just so she doesn't venture down that place again where we're not going to see her on TV for another 5 to 6 months or so, and she's just a background character.
And
I
that
do
will
know that was
suck.
something that a lot of people pointed out. But those are my overall thoughts on this one. The next match, I got a lot to say about this. Oh yeah, before we move on, actually, give Zoe a better mouthpiece and she'll be set. Yeah, I definitely agree. See, that's another thing. Like, once we jump into this new Netflix era, if there's certain people that need mouthpieces, just go ahead and do it so you can help them organically get over, so the audience gives a shit about them. Because I feel like the way that I'm looking at this whole Netflix thing taking off, and then we have the Friday Night SmackDown premiere with the 3 hour show this Friday, I feel like this is just a perfect opportunity to really reset your women's division and just dig really deep with it, so you could just discover all of this talent that you have in the company, which leads us to the match that I've been dying to talk about on the show, and that was a match between Io Sky and Lyra Valkyria. I already knew jumping into this match that this match was going to be a banger, because both of these girls have amazing chemistry. Every match that Io Sky and Lyra Valkyria have been a part of, it's always been a great match. Like, I couldn't even begin to tell you when I was looking on my timeline when this match was first announced, how many people were hyping up this match, praying that it got enough time, which it did, and it delivered. Like, these girls can really go, which is why I brought up, jumping into this segment, that having that nice reset to look at the people that are really pushing your division right now and giving you these great fucking matches, keep an eye on them and just keep raising the bar, because that's how you create new stars in the division. When Becky and Bianca and Charlotte are no longer there, and Bayley, these are the kind of girls that could be there to help your company grow as you continue on throughout these years. And these ladies just did like an amazing job. Like, I was just blown away throughout this entire match. I loved how the match started off and they were able to counter
so beautifully
that they were
I felt like I was watching a dance.
Yeah, that's actually the perfect way to explain it, because one of the expressions within the wrestling community is finding the perfect dance partner. And I definitely do believe that Io Sky and Lyra Valkyria are great dance partners, because they complement each other so well in the ring. And it was just nice to see those moments within the match itself where they were countering each other. Then you had these lower body submissions. You had that little cradle.
Oh my god, that cradle was insane. That's something that I was watching and I'm like, that just looks painful. Like, I believe Wade Barrow was talking about the joints in the body. That just threw me off of how actual painful it is.
Yeah. But I even remember seeing something like during the picture to picture where we saw like that double crossbody when they were running towards each other. We saw a moonsault in and outside of the ring. We saw that shotgun drop kick that I absolutely love that Lyra does.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
And then the package sunset flip from the top rope that Io executed on Lyra to try to get the pin there. That was really nice. And I'm not upset with the outcome, because one of the main reasons why Io was put into this match itself is because Io is fantastic. I mean, she's considered one of the best women's wrestlers on the planet for a reason, and I definitely agree with that statement. This woman is incredibly talented and she deserves everything coming to her, which leads to my next point. It makes me super happy that Lyra went over, not only because I do have confidence that she can give some spark to this championship to make it feel special, but Io Sky, especially looking at what she's been doing recently, she definitely deserves a big payoff, and I feel like this definitely raised the stocks when it comes to her potentially winning the Royal Rumble next year. Like, I am super confident, especially after this match, even though I had a feeling that Lyra was going to progress anyway. It just makes me even more confident that Io is going to be winning the Royal Rumble next year. I know a lot of people were saying Charlotte could come back and win. Not necessarily a big fan of that, because I don't really think it's right for you to come back and win the Rumble like that. Charlotte can qualify for the Elimination Chamber and win that. Then you can do her and Tiffany, but have Io put on a fucking masterpiece of a performance within that Royal Rumble match and just have her come out as the victor. Like, you guys heard the energy from the crowd tonight. They were all over them, so you can only imagine that pop once she wins the Royal Rumble next year. Oh yeah,
that's something.
And the thing that Watkins said as well, a great thing to note as well, is Io and Lyra were given the final match of the USA run for Raw.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, because I actually put it for myself on the Discord. Because the first woman match on USA back then, it was Medusa and Bull Nakano, and now the last two people for the woman match on USA is Io Sky and Lyra Valkyria. So that's congratulations to them to get the opportunity. So I feel like that's why they cooked, such a long match, and they had such a good counter, like a good dance chemistry, like explain to us. It showed the chemistry between one another and how well they work together. The Cradle is one move that I was really impressed about. Something that always shocks me in the best way. Like, God damn, she looks painful. The joints and everything is what I think about. What John brought up earlier, it's right there. The shotgun and drop kick was something that was one of my favorites from Lyra. Really cool. For Io losing, look, I 100% support what Drop said. Io losing, I'm totally fine with. She is going to get her leg back from what she lost this year as a champion. And her feud was only with Bailey, so not much she could have done since the year before, you catching the Money in the Bank and all that. With following this year, she's going to get back her championship and get the opportunity to have a good run once again. So I can't wait to see when that happens. And it's an opportunity for her to get the Royal Rumble. Charlotte Flair, please don't. I wasn't here for your 9, 8, 10, 12 championships and you get them back to back. I was not here, and thank God I wasn't, because I would have hated them. So you just coming back here for the Royal Rumble just because you're a Flair, nah, girl, you got to work for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's something definitely to bring up because there's a good chance that could happen, but I just feel like it makes a lot more sense, and since we're in a new regime. I just feel like Triple H would probably want to switch things up. You could easily have her, like, whatever show she's on, because we still don't know what's going on with this whole transfer window thing until everything comes in effect. Maybe we'll get some good idea on Friday, then we'll know the rest of it on Monday. We don't entirely know yet. Maybe next week. But she could easily, like I said, qualify for the Chamber, win that, but definitely next year you got to give it to Io. Io has been doing a great job. This match right here is a good example. The matches that she had with Bianca, the match that she had with Liv at Saturday night's main event. Io has had so many great matches this year. I mean, really hard to count. I mean, a lot of the matches this year as well that she had with Lyra were fantastic. So it's definitely something to push in.
Question, because this is kind of related to our women's segment, that it would be great if Io Sky won her championship in the following months from now by WrestleMania. If also Dakota Kai, if she doesn't win the championship now instead of Lyra, if Dakota Kai could get it in a couple months, and if Damage Control stood together, it would be amazing to see if Io Sky and Io Sky and Dakota Kai both have a championship as the mid card and the main title. That would be beautiful to see.
Talking about both of them having a different title.
Yes, for the mid card, IC title is what I'm talking about. For Dakota, and for Io Sky for the main title of the world title. Like, that would be very beautiful to see both of them in Damage Control carrying a title.
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. Do you have any other thoughts you want to say on this?
For this segment, no. Congrats to Lyra Valkyria. I can't wait to see next week on Netflix. Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai, and curious to see who's gonna win. You have a bet of which one's gonna win? By the way, Drop.
Yeah, I have a feeling Lyra is gonna. You can't get those PFC shenanigans. You can't just forget about it. So obviously that's gonna come into play. So you never know, that might factor, and hopefully not. Hopefully it's a clean match. We can get a victor, just like how they were doing tonight, which is one thing I want to mention. I'm glad there wasn't any stupid, like, fucking interference in these matches that actually allowed them to play out, which is something I was concerned about with the first match that we discussed when it came to the tournament. But yeah, I'm saying Lyra is probably to win the title. It feels like that's definitely the direction that they're heading when it comes to who they want to give the IC title belt. But moving on to another match.
How do you feel about this? I'm curious about this. How do you feel about this? Because I was excited about this match. I'm glad how well it was executed, because I felt like this was much better than the first round that we got a couple months ago.
So when it comes to Chad Gable and Otis, I'll be 100% honest. We should have got this a month ago, because it's really hard to get invested in something again when it's been absent for so long, because this is something that we were paying attention to when we were heading into the summer. And around that time, the stuff that was going on between Chad Gable and Otis, that was like the highlight of checking out an episode of Monday Night Raw. You're always wondering how the story is going to evolve even further. Like, whenever you were talking to somebody about, oh, what's your thoughts on this episode of Raw? Usually whatever was going on between Chad Gable and Otis was the topic of conversation. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just completely neglected it. And then they just bring it up again when Chad Gable comes across Otis in the backstage. And then they decide to run it back again. So it's like, it's hard for me to care about the match as much as I did prior. So that's the thing. It's like, when something's hot, you gotta run with it. And if it gets cold after a while, not that many people are really gonna care about it anymore. I mean, example being, like I talked about on Friday's show, the whole stuff going on with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, you've been playing out for so long, I don't really give a shit about it anymore. I wouldn't say it's at the same level as this, but I mean, definitely you paused this feud and out of nowhere, you just revisited it. But when it comes to the overall match itself, like, one thing I will say is I will say it was a fun match between the both of them, seeing them both go in there, because I was always very curious to see how Otis was going to interact with Gable whenever they came in contact with one another. So it was a really, like, highly competitive match. And we did see interference when it came to, like, both sides. Like, we saw American Made get involved when it came to the Creed brothers. We saw Ivy Nile get involved. We saw Kira Tozawa get involved. We saw Maxine get involved when she decided to pounce on Ivy Nile. So we saw a lot of that within the match itself, which is something that tends to happen when you're a part of factions, and especially if you're a heel, that tends to be a thing that heels normally do throughout their matches. Sometimes shenanigans are thrown in there if you get fucking ref bumps or whatever the case may be. Someone trying to distract the refs, you can hit them with a chair or whatever it is. It's just something that tends to happen. But I will say this. There was a part of me that was a little surprised at the result, because when I initially jumped into this, I thought Otis was going to go over, only because I thought they were going to play it off as one of those things where it's like, okay, Otis finally confronted the bully, he got the job done, and he can move on. But at the same time, I also can't blame them for giving it to Gable, because you have to have Gable feel like a credible person again. Because like we mentioned before, he started off so hot earlier this year, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just randomly got, like, super cold. He kept losing every fucking match he was in, especially when it came to the Wyatt Six and everything along the lines that happened with that. Starts shit with Cody Rhodes, loses that match. Obviously, you didn't really expect him to win that anyway. But it's like he was just being displayed as a loser for the longest time, so it's kind of like you can't really blame them for giving him the win, because you got to build him up again, especially since it's rumored that they're heading to SmackDown, which is perfect. Give them a new environment. They're not really doing anything on Raw that's all that interesting, and you could keep them away from Otis, because I definitely do feel like this is the last match between both of them. I don't really need to see it anymore. I feel like whatever happens tonight is it. They can venture out and do whatever they need to do next. I mean, honestly, the best thing for Gable and American Made is actually reinvent themselves on SmackDown, make Gable feel like a credible wrestler again, and have him compete for whatever mid-card championship is on that title, because I'm not on that show, because I'm not even sure if they're switching champions yet or where's going where, because we don't even know what the fuck is going on with this transfer window.
I love how you curse. It was a great expression to how we feel. Look, you know what will be a great title for these people, for the American Made, is the U.S. title, because it was cringy as hell of the promo where they say, we were born here, we were raised here, we were made here. I'm like, okay, cringy, but I like, yeah, not wrong. The promo works, but just actually saying it didn't hit me. But I'm not as patriotic as most people would be, so I don't know if for others how would that hit, but I would love for the American Made to actually go to SmackDown, get reinvented, and go for the US title. It would be really great on them. I really would love to see a Chad Gable versus Shinsuke Nakamura in a little feud would be nice to see. Right now, I believe Shinsuke is overseas in Japan with the title as well, so that's really cool to see. And like you said, Drop, would I care for Otis to have another match? No, Otis, you did it. Don't listen to Rey Mysterio. Ignore his advice because you don't need to go for after Chad Gable once more. It is what it is. You move on. You lost. If it's a 2 losses, we move on. Get back your leg one way or another. Come back for like another year. Come back for the match, probably a WrestleMania match in the future or something, or probably SummerSlam. But right now, I don't need it. Let it die down for a bit.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio is the last person you want to talk about getting rematches, because we don't need to see another match between Rey Mysterio and Dominic again. I'm not even sure
Yeah,
we got it last year.
yeah, and that technically was supposed to go to Dominic for his win but hey, Rey Mysterio got 2 wins over his son now on WrestleMania. Is what it is. But when it comes to Otis, I'm glad Maxine and them got involved. Just seeing Creed Brothers being thrown around by Otis, who the Creed Brothers was supposed to be a dominant faction in the tag team division when they first got brought up from NXT to where the main roster is, and they just fell short by joining with Chad Gable, getting the losses and getting L's. It didn't really help their reputation. So that's one thing that was very sad for me to see. But I'm hoping to see the rise once more for the Creed Brothers in 2025. Okay, that's something I hope to see.
Definitely. So, when it comes to another thing that I definitely have some things to say, because this was probably my least favorite part of the show outside of like Damian Priest and the War Raiders. The Judgment Day shenanigans, which is a topic that we normally discuss on the channel when it comes to, okay, what's going on with the Judgment Day this week? And this week we got a match between Damian Priest and the War Raiders versus the Judgment Day. I'm happy this wasn't the main event. I'm happy they actually gave the main event to Lyra, because that was deserving for a main event, not discrediting anybody involved. But I just seen so much Judgment Day, and I might be the odd one out here, but I didn't really care for that song at all, to be perfectly honest. Like, it's not even the song really. I just it just we need to figure out what's going on here, because I remember all those months ago, Judgment Day used to be the hottest thing to tune into. Whenever you're watching an episode of Monday Night Raw, there was always something significant going on between them. Now they are ice cold. I am not sure what is going on with Finn Balor, because the way that Finn has been portrayed on television, you would think that he would probably want to remove himself from Judgment Day just based on everything that's happening around him. And sometimes when you're watching the show, it's almost like you forget that even happened, and they're like pretending it's a whole new day and none of that shit ever happened in their lives. So it's like, I'm hoping we eventually get that singles Finn push and these guys go down an opposite direction, because now we have this match itself, which it was a fun match. I'm not going to say it was out of this world, because there was other matches within this show I will definitely say was probably a lot more entertaining than this one. But I don't know.
Look,
what is your thoughts on here? Like, me personally, it's like it's just really hard for me to care, because, like we brought up before, everything should have been done, especially between Finn and Damian at Bad Blood.
Bad Blood.
And the way that they executed that, where they had Damian go over in that match, it's almost like you should have wrapped it up there, or you should have had Finn win, and then you could have that chase with Damian and Finn for a little bit, and then maybe you would have Damian get his win back. But it obviously seems like we're going to get one match between Damian and Finn one last time, and I honestly feel like Finn needs it the most, especially if this singles push rumor is legitimate, where he's going to venture out on his own. So you have to have him get the win over him. You can't have Damian Priest pin him again and then moves on from it or whatever. Like, I was honestly hoping we're getting this match on Raw next week. Just a little extra match, kind of like how we got that we'll talk about next when Jay came out to open up the show. Like, I was honestly hoping we're getting this next week so we can move on from him. I don't know, man.
Look, so one thing I will say, we have always had the Judgment Day shenanigans as our title because they always had that segment that they've been going on for the past 2 years and the past 10 months for us doing our show. It was a way to have a segment of whatever they did under one segment. Now it actually means the word it says, the shenanigans. It's like the stupid bullshit they do. And that's what it feels like. Ever since they called their place the clubhouse, their stock value has fallen down. It doesn't feel as important as it used to be with the Judgment Day as before. They felt like a presence when Rio was running it with Damian Priest and everything. When the Judgment Day felt like the bloodline could go to war on each of them, as Survivor Series. It felt that important. It felt that big. But now, years later, months later, we hear for Judgment Day shenanigans. The most stupid shit is because we have Finn going on the side of his shoulder, telling Raquel, like, hey, you tell Liv that I'm telling her best of luck in her match. It felt so high schoolish. It felt so kiddish with their personality and
That
trait
shit
doing
last
this. It's
week,
like,
too.
yo, Finn, like, is this really worth your time to be telling Raquel, like, hey, tell Liv I said this, that, hey, good luck in your match next week. Like, really? Come on.
And another thing I don't understand is like he's been having these ongoing issues with Dom, and it almost seems like it's non-existent when they go out there. So it's like, what are we doing with this? Like, that's why I'm hoping if January 6th, like Triple H says, is the starting point with WrestleMania, which I believe it is, I'm hoping we can get some things wrapped up there. I don't want Finn and Damien to be the WrestleMania match. I don't think you need to prolong it till April.
Question,
Definitely
because
not.
remember what we spoke about a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure if we spoke about publicly here, but I'm gonna just say it now. Remember the rumor that we heard of why 6 the next feud would be with the Judgment Day?
Yeah.
Is that something as well that you're curious to see? Maybe that's how Finn gets out of the Judgment Day.
I would hope so, because at least if Finn's not a part of it, at least you could have it be one of those things where it's like, okay, you got Liv and Dom and AD and Carlito and all of them dealing with this, and then Finn could focus on something else entirely, which is something that I'm personally hoping for. But yet again, you got to really throw something in there to make it interesting too, because even the stuff with the Wyatt Six, as much as I hate to say it, that's also feeling cold too. Even with the Final Testament, like whatever's going on between them, even that's feeling a little cold, at least to me. So
No,
it's like
you're not wrong on the cold aspect. It's more on the timing of what we have been speaking about on the timing. Not that with Netflix being on a 2 to 3 hour basis of what they could do, maybe 3 hours and 5 minutes. Who knows? So what they could do in the possibility where they don't have to worry about time constraints. I feel like they have more type of leeway to tell more stories with the Final Testament, with the White Six in the future. The production value could change because one thing that I did want to speak on were the War Raiders versus Judgment Day. One thing I appreciate is now, just knowing the history of the War Raiders, knowing what they've gone through in their personal lives, in the surgery, the life and death situation where they couldn't wrestle no more. Just watching the War Raiders do what they can on screen. Honestly, I'm just appreciating that they're still able to give us entertainment, and I'm just enjoying that they are our champions as long as they can hold it and as long as the story is there for. So I'm just happy just seeing the workhorse of the War Raiders and just seeing their story evolve. So that's one thing as a fan I've become for the War Raiders, and that's something that's great to see. The dynamic between the War Raiders and Damian Priest is pretty cool. One thing I appreciate that Watkins brought up, it was that where is it? That Finn did not get pinned as well. That's something that I was appreciating, that Finn did not get pinned. Dominic getting pinned is what it is. It has to. It could have been anybody else. I guess Dominic could be okay with the L's. It's not gonna affect him too much because right now he's not getting any push. He's just being in the story driven and in the middle between Rhea and Liv still. But that's about all I got for the War Raiders and for the match itself and for Judgment Day. Finn, please evolve or see what's gonna happen for the month of January. It's more that I'll wait and see. because I know we're about to step into a new era. So it's more wait and see until things, finally open up. And are you ready to talk about the Re and Live package, or or you have any last thoughts about it, about the War
No,
Raiders and Judgment Day
we could
itself?
actually talk about that because that's actually something that I really enjoyed when it comes to the overall production of it, which I'm pretty sure you could probably shine some light in that because you also work in production. But I really liked how this package was pretty much showcasing the whole history between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. And me, you, and Watkins all agreed that the feud has to end on January 6th when it comes to the Raw premiere, because this feud has been going on for a long time. Ever since Rhea had to go over her title, and obviously everything that happened prior when Liv was originally taken out from Rhea and she went on this whole revenge tour, and we saw the matches that took place throughout the year. So it's like,
Look,
you would think in the top of your head that obviously next week we're going to be getting a new women's world champion, which is Rhea Ripley. And I do realize there's some people out there that aren't going to be too pleased about that, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to be completely honest. As much as we like certain people in the company, they're doing things from a marketing standpoint when it comes to who draws money. I mean, that's how we brought up CM Punk and Roman Reigns potentially being a program that they're going to visit at WrestleMania, just like how Cena and Cody, and Cena is Cody and Rock is being teased a potential money match. That's why they're putting the title on Rhea, because Rhea is she's one of their biggest stars in the women's division outside of Becky Lynch right now. So it's like they're going to put some stock into her when it comes to whatever program she's going to be a part of, when it comes to obviously EO, like we mentioned, her winning the Royal Rumble and her and Rhea running it at WrestleMania, which would be fucking fantastic. So it's like, I realize there's some people out there that want Liv to retain and everything, but you got to look at it like this. When it comes to this story between Liv and Rhea, it's never going to end unless Rhea wins her title back. Because why are you going to prolong this and have Liv start a program with someone else? Who else is there? Lyra is involved in the mid-card division right now. She's going to help build the mid-card division if she wins. Dakota could win too, but you get what I'm trying to say. There's certain people focusing on that mid-card division. Who is there outside of Rhea and Becky Lynch that's on that card that are credible names? You can't just pull a name out of the hat and say Shayna Baszler. Her presentation does not fit this bill at this age when
current
it comes
time,
to what's currently going on in the product. And you can't say, oh, what about someone from NXT? They're not properly built up yet on the main roster. So you can't just say, let's bring Roxanne here and start a program between the both of them. No, you can't say that. It has to be something that's credible. So outside of Rhea Ripley, there really isn't anything. Oh, but she could revisit whatever's going on with Becky Lynch. Sure, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, we've seen it before. Why do we want to go back to Becky Lynch after that was the program that Liv was doing before Rhea came back? So why do you want to do that? And then what are you going to do? Run EO and Liv back? Like, it's just nice to put the title back on Rhea. And I don't want to hear this Rhea Hogan shit, because one of the things I did hear about Rhea Ripley, and I don't know Rhea Ripley as a person, but just based on what I've seen from her, she seems like a very genuine person, and she seems like she's willing to do whatever's right. She's not going to give any frustrations to Triple H or Nick Khan whenever they present ideas to her. She seems like the kind of person that would run with it, so it makes sense, which is probably why they have a lot of stock in her, because they know they can rely on her when it comes to whatever they present her in the company. So it's like, I'm not trying to come off as like, oh, Liv Morgan sucks, because she doesn't, because she had a great year when it comes to her breaking out. That's something I can definitely give a reward for when it comes to her breaking out this year. But I mean, Rhea Ripley's the money maker here. Like, I hate to say it, but when it comes to a business standpoint, and if me and Vash were like in charge of like TKO, we would probably want to put our superstars that make us the most money at eating at the table the most. I mean, I just don't really see any other option. I mean, first off, this is going to be a last woman standing match. And if I'm being
correct.
perfectly honest, Rhea has showcased before that she really doesn't need any help when it comes to Raquel and Dom being there, because she could easily take them out on her own. But I do feel like Becky Lynch will factor into this.
Ooh, really?
I'm only saying that because if you noticed, what has Liv been doing ever since Becky Lynch left? What does Liv like always do every once in a blue moon? She always brags about how she retired Becky Lynch and she did this and that. And Becky Lynch isn't even brought up in the conversation. Rhea doesn't bring her up. Finn doesn't bring her up. So you would think that would eventually bite her in the ass. Becky would probably want to come back and just slap her across the fucking face and take away the thing that she holds dear. And if Liv tries to get like people to attack Rhea during that match, which is it's allowed because it's a last woman standing match, you would think Becky could possibly appear right there and help Rhea in that situation, and then she could get her lick back. And maybe if you want to run a program between the both of them with a non-title so Rhea can move on to something else, okay. But what is your thoughts on this? Sorry to go on for so long, but that
No.
I needed to say something about that.
That's right. You was letting your thoughts out. You was expressing yourself of the current segment we're on, which just for anybody, quick reminder, it's Rhea Liv. In case you're tired of it, because it's been going on for almost a year and a half. It's been started since last year, November, October, if I remember correctly, when Rhea hurt first Liv to be out for a couple months. She had her minor surgery, like Job brought up, and then Rhea had to drop off her title back a week after WrestleMania of this year, and then Becky Lynch had it. And perfect drop brought it up. Do I believe and agree that Becky Lynch will be showing up on this Monday next week, January 6th? At first, I didn't think about it. Now that drop brought it up, I see a possibility, because even most recently, I think 2 months ago, the last time we heard from Becky Lynch, she was social media. She said, "I'm not gonna let Dom retire me," because the reason that she lost her title match because of Dom, and who won that title match was Liv. So Becky didn't acknowledge Liv either at the time. She acknowledged Dom, that hey, Dom is not gonna retire me. He ain't gonna do that. So it shows the dynamic that with the company TKO and WWE, they know what to say and tell the superstars what to say on social media, how to promote it, how to put the Easter eggs out there. Do I believe Becky Lynch could show up? Yes, because one, her husband's there that night, so she most likely will be in the back locker room supporting him and everything, because he's probably angry as hell during the holidays. Like, damn, I gotta fight this dude on Monday, January 6th on the fucking Raw on Netflix, but he's gonna make a buckload of money either way. So those is a possibility, and Becky Lynch will be a great iteration to reinvent herself as well, because I heard the rumor that she wanted to move away from the man, so have a different side of character. So this will be a great way to introduce herself once more, and what is a great way to come back on Raw on Netflix. We already had a few men fights announced for that night. We only had a few for the women, so I'm glad that if Becky Lynch comes back. Also, in the comment, Watkins brought up about the Queen returning. The Queen returning on Raw Netflix, I think if she does return that night, it will be like a one-time thing, because she's technically still on SmackDown, and usually when you have a husband or wife on the show, you're usually on the same show on them. And Andrade is currently still on SmackDown that we're aware of. He hasn't been drafted, and like Draw brought up earlier from his frustration, we don't even fucking know what's going on with this fucking draft, a little trade-in. So at the end of the day, and when it comes to this Rhea and Liv, who that thing's gonna win? Rhea. If Liv wins and retains, will I be mad about it? No. I'll be questioning what's next for Rhea and Liv. Meaning, Liv, she better fucking move away from Rhea, and Rhea, you better move away to like a whole different segment, or go to a fucking SmackDown or something, because you cannot really keep the story going on once this is the promo package even spoke about it from Rhea and Liv perspective. This has to end. Both of them are, and I'm happy they said it. They both acknowledge this has to end. No more. Yeah. This feud has to be done with, and they even are fed up with it. They even spoke about it, even knowing from the audience or fan perspective from online. Probably Triple H has read it. So knowing that some fans are tired of this feud already. So Am I okay if Liv wins? I'm okay with. It just depends on story. Do I prefer Rhea winning? Yes, because she is a moneymaker. We even had, quick reminder for Chad audience, we even had Rhea last year had a fatal four-way against the other four best women in their division, and she still took them out and won 2 times. They had a similar match during that time. So for Rhea to get back and become the champion and to be on Raw on Netflix, it'd be a great way to introduce the show and have more women, probably checking out the show. Rhea is a big fan favorite for the audience, and she could help other opponents like Zoe Stark if by any chance, or Shayna Baszler, or anybody coming back for a title. They will put good matches, and I'm okay with that. I want that.
Yeah. I'm about to bookmark this. But yeah, those are like my overall thoughts on this. Like, we are reaching the conclusion of this next week. Casting M. Night vote, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a given that Rhea's going to come out as the victor in this match, because they're not going to throw away that money match between Rhea and Io, because like we know, Triple H teases things for a reason. He doesn't just do it just to do it. I mean, for God's sake, he puts fucking things in the background when we have segments backstage when the wrestlers are on the microphone. You have little Easter eggs, and they eventually become a thing later down the line. So it's like Rhea and Io holding the title was meant for a reason, not just because, oh, I'm #1 contender for Io at Saturday Night's Main Event and you're having a feud with her. Like, no. He did that for a reason, because Triple H is telling you, yeah, that's your Mania match. You're going to have to wait until we get there, but
You'll see the road to it.
Yep. So Rhea is getting her title next weekend.
Also, that means that Rhea gets the match. I mean, when Rhea gets the belt by the end of that Monday Night Raw on Netflix, that means, do you think Liv will come out? Oh, sorry, not Liv. My apologies. Do you think Io Sky will come out after the match and lock eyes with Rhea?
That would be cool if they did something like that, because then that could give us more seeds being planted when she confronts her again. Like that and you never know. Maybe even Io herself might come out there and try to help Rhea out if they're doing a lot of shit. We don't fucking know, but if she came out after the match, I would absolutely love that, because like I said, Triple H said this is beginning the road to WrestleMania. If you have a stare down between the both of them, I mean, that's just a dead giveaway what you're getting on February 1st. You're getting Io Sky being the second Japanese woman to win the Royal Rumble outside of Asuka.
Oh yeah, that'd be a great opportunity. So I wasn't even there for that. So I didn't even know that little nice little statistics of it. Pretty cool. Now let's go for Yeet.
So this was interesting because New Day opened up the show, and as usual, we saw them
Worst decision.
getting showered with booze, which is a given, and I like how everything's organic when it comes to the New Day's presentation. And I like how the New Day is being is being displayed on television, because I honestly feel like this has been this is probably, the New Day hasn't been as interesting as they are now for the longest time. Like, they've always been the same people. So it's nice to see them in a new light as heels, to see how they evolve their characters from this point on. And it's obviously going to lead into probably some very emotional moments next year, which I am very confident in, because things wouldn't be brought up between that exchange between Big E and Kofi and Woods if something wasn't going to turn out after that. I'm pretty sure we're going to get a nice late Christmas gift on February 1st that's going to bring tears to a lot of people's eyes, and I'm all here for it. But yeah, they got showered at booze. Jay came out there, and then we had Drew come out. So, like, Jay didn't really say much, really. He just went out there.
Yeah, well, Jay chose a New Day. He just said it 3 words. New Day sucks.
Oh, yeah, pretty
That's
much,
literally
yeah.
who he said. 3 words. He said New Day sucks. Kofi and Xavier thought that Jay got their back, and he was like, yo, we've been homies for life. We've been homies for years. We've traveled together and everything. And Jay was like, just shaking out, like, yeah, I just suck. Yeah, I just messed up. Like, just straight up cold hearted, and I love that. And as you brought up, Drop, that on February 1st, I don't see it as an early Christmas. I see it a positivity of love. Our big
I don't know about
boy of
that.
goodness, a big E, he's gonna come and whoop some ass to the new day.
The Christmas present I meant as like a late Christmas gift of getting Big E coming back cleared at the Royal Rumble. That's what I meant.
Oh yeah, but we just gotta see the evolution that if that finally does happen, hopefully.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then we will know that his health came first at the end of the day. But if it does, God bless his soul, Biggie, when that time comes. When it comes to Jay, I'm glad he came out. He said he wasn't here for this. Then he spoke to Solo through the Trom, and then Drew came up from the back, which the audience was screaming way in advance. So Jay had to like walk around or made it look like he was waiting to get kicked, because I felt that type of energy or body language, like he was hearing it, so he had to make sure that he wasn't paying attention from Jay Uso perspective. I don't know if you got that as well.
Definitely. The real meats and potatoes of this is like outside of the match we're getting between Solo and Roman Reigns, which I'm gonna come out and say it again. Neither of them deserve that Ula follow because, for one, Roman has not changed in the slightest, and also Solo Sikoa, he brought up the whole thing about when it was even mentioned in the fucking video package. Roman, well, no, he didn't say it to Roman directly, but he did say that SmackDown after WrestleMania that when you lose, there's consequences. So it's kind of like Solo. You've been looking at the lights for the past couple months in your matches. You gotta have some consequences coming down your direction down the line. But we do know that Drew McIntyre is currently on a hunt for
The bloodlines.
for the bloodline. Like, we saw that he went after Jimmy. We saw that he went after Sammy. We saw that he went after Jay. Obviously, they had a little brawl here. They're going to be having a match next week for the Netflix premiere, which I definitely expect Drew to continue his momentum and win that match when it comes to Jay, because you got to keep him strong if he's hunting after all of the members of the bloodline, which makes me even think even further that he's more than likely going to take part in that match between Roman and Solo, because he's leaving a Solo alone for the time being. Obviously, they'll revisit that whenever that time comes. But you would think, since he has Roman and Solo on the same show, he's going to want to target Roman and cost him something that he wants, because Roman also cost him something all those years ago that he desperately wanted that he wasn't able to achieve. And obviously, it was shown in the same segment itself when it came to the little package exchange between Jay and Solo and all of that.
Is that possible now with Drew though? Because now that he got matched with next week on the same night, and we have no confirmation yet of the CM Punk versus Seth or Roman versus Solo is going to become the main event. We don't know which one will be yet. But when it comes to Drew and Jay, Drew now has to worry about Jay having a match with him that Monday night. Yes, after the match, Drew could still show up for the main event of Roman and Solo. But it's more like back then, once the person had a match, usually they will go home. So Drew could still pretend that he's done for the night after the match ended, and then just still wait as usual as story bits, just wear a hoodie and just be there for the night.
Or he might even come out there. I mean, he's shown before that he's not afraid just to come out there. Like, I don't even think it needs to be a sneak attack. They're all fully aware that they're hunting him down. So it's like when I don't expect that match between him and Jay to really be a struggle for him. Like, not taking anything away from Jay, but we know that Drew is gonna have to advance that match itself, because he needs to continue going down this hunt for the bloodline, and he can't just stop at Jay and struggle with him and then move on to Roman. I mean, it's right there in front of his face, and we know that he wants to rip Roman to shreds. So I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if he costs Roman that match, and that's when Solo gets the victory. Because one thing you also have to keep in mind as well, which is what Roman and Solo said, is even though it is tribal combat, they did both say that they're going to keep their tribes behind, meaning no Jacob Fatu or Tama Tonga, no Jimmy, Jay, or Sammy. Like, they just want it to be between the both of them. But you never.
So how does the final boss works? Can he still show up?
See, that's the thing. The Rock is like The Rock plays a good part when it comes to the road of WrestleMania, and I bring this.
He's such a black sheep.
And I bring this up for this reason because there's been reports saying that there could potentially be him and Cody at Mania, and it's like I mentioned before in the chat. I even noticed it myself. It seemed like when Cody was there having that program with Rock, it really seems like Cody brought something out of The Rock that he hasn't felt in a long time, and we haven't really heard any buzz about a Rock and Roman match happening, because usually you would hear it about this point. Like that would be one of those things that you would see, like the CM Punk and Roman match being rumored around this point, where Rock's like, God, I really want to work Roman, but it all depends what he really wants to do. Really, like, does Rock want to go towards Roman and actually help Solo in this case and have him retain the Ula Fala, and Cody's also scheduled for the show too, so is he going to have some sort of interaction with Cody? Maybe not like super in depth, but maybe a little tease there. So if they have some sort of eye and eye interaction again, that sort of lets you know, like, okay, Rock's back now. He might be going after him. So it's like, you gotta wait and see what Rock does. Rock's very unpredictable, but it's like once you know what Rock's doing, if he's there or not, which we all know he's showing up next. Not gonna miss that fucking spotlight on. It gives you a clear indication if he's just there to visit and say hi, or he actually wants to start something. Especially since he's on Netflix and he knows he has full control to do whatever the fuck he wants, and he doesn't have to worry about hiding anything back, because out of all people a part of that company, they will let The Rock do whatever the fuck he wants.
Curse how much he wants, sing how much he wants, dance how much he wants. He could do whatever he wants, and hold a 45-minute segment on a SmackDown event just talking about the bloodline on a commercial-free hour. And I've been there, and I was there.
Yeah, so it's
within 45 minutes. So The Rock could do what he wants for Raw on Netflix. Really curious to see what he does, because he's a black sheep for next week. The Drew McIntyre coming out, doing what he does, taking out Jay. By the way, I don't know if anybody noticed in the segment when Jay was in the backstage, the lady in the back was just coming out, and then she just got starstruck. She's like, the lights, cameras there. Got to face a different direction. I spot those type of production little mistakes or little flaws, and I enjoy those type of little productions. I really find it fascinating in those type of moments. And when it comes to, I want to add one more thing. With Solo, he's gotten better in his promo work. I want to give a highlight on that and give my remarks that Solo Sikoa has gotten better in his promo work, in his in his tribal chief attire and character in his own way. And in a few times in his promo work, there's a few pops for what he was saying. So I really love that, and I love the interaction of the fans enjoying what our boy Solo was giving to the audience. So I don't know if you noticed that, but I appreciated that.
Oh yeah, definitely. But moving on, do you have anything else to say about this, or you want to go to our quick fire segments?
The quickfire segment I'm okay with for us to go to. Are we gonna talk about the New Day about the quickfire segment, since it also spoke about with Rey Mysterio as well?
Oh yeah. So basically, just in a nutshell, we saw another interaction between the New Day and Rey Mysterio in the back, like we saw from last week, and Rey said that he didn't want to be near them, and they're just basically not the same people that Rey saw them as before, especially with what happened with Big E. And we see that there's going to be, it hasn't been announced yet, but we see that there's going to be some sort of tag match announced next week, where it's going to be Xavier Woods and Kofi against Rey Mysterio and possibly Dragon Lee. But we all know that mystery partner more than likely is going to be Pentagon Jr. So he's probably going to be making his debut. And GG for Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, because Pentagon Jr. is going to be coming out there breaking arms and going to be taking names. Look, that's what he's known to do.
Penta, decline your offers of LWO. If Rey Mysterio, hey, come join us. Yeah. No, I know, but I'm just stating that now. Please, Penta, decline the offers that Ray and the crew gives you. It really hurt when Kofi and Xavier was making fun of Rey Mysterio and LWO, talking about the clone copies of Ray. We have the masked Ray, we have the unmasked, we have the hat Ray. So like that kind of hurt my soul. That felt like very stereotypical of the of the luchador, but I get it. It was in the comedy sense, but it just sucks that seeing Dragon Lee there, who is a guy that I've been supporting since NXT, and I've been wanting to see him on the rise. And with the other BFN, he kind of flat. Hopefully, with this new 225, they can actually pick up some steam as well for our girl Zelina Vega. She also deserves it as well. So I'm really curious to see what she does in the future, because she only had like 1 or 2 lines in the segment and it felt flat where she couldn't say much more. So it felt very uninteresting to me in that type of department that I wanted more as a fan.
Yeah.
And if it's Penta, I can't wait to see. January 6th is going to be a beautiful tag match of Penta executing and murdering Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's going to be iconic for sure. I mean, one of the things I did find clever, like we obviously know it's Penta. They even showed his mask towards the end of it. We even knew ahead of time it was him. But one of the things I found very interesting that they did, that I got a little laugh out of me, is they showed the WWE shop commercial right after that promotion. After that little promotion for Pentagon coming. So it's like more than likely, it's like, oh yeah, when this guy comes out, you can buy his mask here, which he's gonna sell a lot of fucking masks. That mask looks fucking awesome as shit.
Oh, if they do, I'm gonna ask, like, can I get an early Christmas present or like a late Christmas present or like a birthday gift from somebody? That mask would be amazing. I would actually wear that. That mask I've seen of his is actually phenomenal. So I will wear that mask over on top of any Rey Mysterio. No, I'm lying. There's a few Rey Mysterio masks that has been fired, but the Penta mask, I would love that as a gift. Anybody as a fan that want to give me as a gift for that, my birthday's in May. So if y'all want to just pass one over, appreciate it.
So another one of our quick fire segments is R-Truth being attacked by Butch before the scheduled match. Honestly, I'm not gonna really say anything there. It just happened. I don't really think we need to spend a minute or two coming up with a story with this. It just
look. The only thing I'm gonna say is that Pete Dunne literally came out just to push down R-Truth and literally said, "I'm nobody's Butch, nobody's Butch," and I'm like, do we really got him saying that he's nobody's bitch? Like, do we really got him saying that?
I'm just gonna come out and say this. I'm actually happy this match ended the way it did, because I had no interest in this at all whatsoever. So I'm honestly happy.
I honestly forgot about it drop. I did not know it was gonna happen. No, sorry, I didn't know it was gonna happen. I just, my brain probably chose to forget it. So it was like, oh yeah, this was gonna happen. Totally forgot. Yeah, and I'm glad it just swung by, went quick. R-Truth in his shocking fit, like, I actually got jumped. I'm like, no shit, bro. You literally been calling this man Butch, aka bitch, for the past like 2 months and making jokes out of his name. And he told you, don't call me by that name. It's Pete Dunne now. I went back to my old name. Stop calling me that. So why surpass R-Truth? And I'm glad it happened. And it just sucks for Pete Dunne to say that comedy line, like, I'm nobody's Butch. Like, come on, like, do we really need to say it 2 times? The one time was enough. I didn't need to hear a second time. It felt more like he was literally calling himself, I'm nobody's little bitch.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that's all I have to really say about that. And then
so let's go to a quick and last rapid fire.
And the next rapid fire is, what does this say?
Quick fire, man.
Ludwig Kaiser.
Ludwig cuts a promo about eggs. Oh my god, I don't know. I'm a European elegance. Bring the IC title of yours, Bron Breakker. But no, here comes Sheamus. They have a fight. And by the way, chat, I'm just repeating what it says about the document by our host that's not here tonight. That's all I'm saying. But one thing I like about Ludwig Kaiser coming out and doing his thing is that he did his thing. I'm very impressed. He spoke up and said it about himself right on it, like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, praise your hands, not for Gunther, for moi. So I just love to see the interaction of himself. Like, he was very happy to announce himself. He's like, hey, I know y'all know I'm that good. You know I'm good. And I know I'm that good. So here I am. Let's prove that. And I love he was calling out Bron Breakker. I also thought Bron Breakker was going to come out and give the hands a little quick scruffle.
We saw, like, Bron Breakker briefly talking, and then they cut away from it. I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't. I didn't because my usual site I use, decided to take a break for the week, so I
Yeah.
couldn't. I probably missed that. I don't know. But when it comes to Ludwig, we got Sheamus. Were you excited for this drop? Seeing another Ludwig and Sheamus match type of probably possible set for next week or maybe in the future of January?
Um, I'm just hoping this. Like, the only thing I really want to see come out of this, just for the both of them, is just to see like Kaiser have a successful career as like a single superstar outside of the stuff that he does with Gunther when it comes to the mid card division, and then also as well when it comes to Sheamus eventually getting that IC title under his belt so he could become a Grand Slam champion, which has been an ongoing story for so long. So hopefully they can pay it off at potentially WrestleMania or whatever the case may be, so he could eventually get that all wrapped up. But it definitely seems like it might be starting another program again. But I think there's also like a part of me that's like really curious to see what what the hell Bron Breakker said when I was watching Raw tonight, because I just saw like Bron Breakker appear on screen. He was backstage. It was there for like 2 seconds and it left. I don't know what was going on. So I'm hope I find that online somewhere so I know exactly what's going on.
It might be on YouTube or as a WWE exclusive, like a probably like a social media type of video. So hopefully they posted it up later. When it comes to Ludwig, damn, how do you not even talk about his most famous tag team partner, Vinci? That famous tag team partner from all the way from Europe,
Who's that?
Vinci, who had you were like, I'm not gonna entertain your sarcasm, Vash. Not tonight. Not the end of the year. Look, I'm happy for Ludwig to actually go transition from his tag team days with Vinci, who has been long forgotten as the Avatar. So no more. Vinci's gone. We have Ludwig. He's doing well for his singles career. Hopefully, the best of luck for his 2025 career. And for Sheamus, he deserves the IC title. And I'm happy when the time comes. Maybe WrestleMania, Bron Breakker versus Sheamus, or maybe a Ludwig versus Sheamus for the title. Maybe our boy Ludwig gets the title from Bron Breakker at Royal Rumble. That's a possibility. Just throwing that out there. Who knows? Maybe quien sabe. And then we have with Sheamus going another round with Ludwig. Do I care for it? Hell no. This match was something that did I ask for? No. Did I care for it? Nope. It just happened, and the brawl was cool to see. I like seeing Fight Night being said by I believe Wade Barrett, but other than that, this is like the third or fourth match between them that might be set up, and at this point, I'm like, what next can we do with it? Because it's not
Yeah.
like a Carmelo or Andrade had the best of
See,
seven, where those were great, entertaining back and forth. With Sheamus and Ludwig has been on and off for the past month, so it hasn't been so consistent for us to really pay attention as an audience on a weekly basis.
see that this is why it's very important when it comes to this transfer window to really shake things up so we could have different superstars on different shows when it comes to Raw and SmackDown and whoever they pull out of NXT. Because this has obviously been a thing that they've been bringing up throughout this month and a little bit like towards the end of last month. So it's like that's why it matters, because at least if you get like a different variety of men and women on the show, then you could start developing new programs so you're not always revisiting the same thing all over again. So that's what I'm hoping comes out of this potentially. So we could figure out exactly what's going on next. But overall, like, that was Raw. That was the last episode on USA for Raw, and Raw's been on USA for years. Like, I believe it said it's been on here for like 32 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been on here for so long, and now they're stepping into a new era where they're going to be on Netflix. I mean, NXT is on the CW now. They're all set with their new era. SmackDown is all set with their new era because they're on USA now. And now Raw is finally jumping into the fray, and they're going to be on Netflix next week. And I remember talking about this like it was like so far away, but here we are, exactly 6 days away from it being a thing. And holy shit, it's 12/31/2024. This is the last day of the year, which is pretty crazy
Happy New Year's, everyone.
to even think about. Yeah, happy New Year's Eve, guys. But
Yes, it's a crazy adventure because, to look back, this is the end of the episode, but this is our last episode, episode 100. So you already heard our Raw
that's
conversation
another
chat.
thing too. Our 100th
Yeah,
episode.
so exactly. So
Big
what Drop
milestone.
said, a big milestone, and what I mentioned, you already heard our Raw conversation. Go check the time codes down below. Hear our conversation. This little Raw or Raw thoughts. I'm gonna literally talk about the past 30 years. I'm 28 at this time of recording and time of streaming. I'm 28. I've been alive for less than Raw has been debuted on a network TV on USA. We have seen the Vince documentary. You have seen what Vince has done to Raw for wrestling. He has been one of the first pioneer in pro wrestling to keep it on the network TV and have it with Raw Wars and all the things he has done over the years. And now where we are now with 3 people have been doing content creation for a couple of years and now want to collab together and do a show called Weebs of the Ring. We had a couple of trial and errors. We had trying to find our groove, and now we're on episode 100 of doing POEs for almost 8 months straight, doing Raw and SmackDown every Mondays and Fridays, even if it's a 3-man squad, if it's a 2-man squad, or a big thanks to Drop This Box, who has held it on his own 2 or 3 times by now, I believe, with holding his coverage on his own. So it's been a great, fun time. We have our own spin-off channel now under the umbrella of Animal Week 3 Studio. So it's been a fun content creation journey of 2024. Now I can't wait to enter the year 2025 and make more memories of coverage of pro wrestling where anime and wrestling collide.
Yeah, I mean, next year is going to be a pretty big year for us. So we just got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff for you guys next year. It's going to be super fun to get into, like Vash just went over. And one of the things that we want to say is just thank you guys for like all the support that you've been giving us throughout 2024. Like, obviously, this is the year where we started our program that you guys get to check out every Monday, Friday, whatever we schedule, grappling of the week, and then our PLE coverage. We've just been having a lot of fun talking about a lot of these different things when it comes to whatever's running across our heads on this channel. And 2025, I'm very confident when it comes to my channel and when it comes to this channel as well, and I'm pretty sure of Watkins' channel as well. I think we're all pretty confident that things are going to take off and go down the steady pace, because I remember when this channel had like 10 subs when we first started. Now we're at 24, so every little bit counts. So we really do appreciate everything. But
And one more thing to add towards what Drop was saying is the most littlest thing counts. As much as I always say, tell your grandma, your familia, or your uncle, your cousins, is because anybody that could enjoy the most simplest conversation from us, even sharing to your friends, even if telling people that you just got into a pro wrestling conversation to talk about it, because I am also new into the pro wrestling type of circle, content creators and also fans. Myself diving into where Drop and Wonkas have been into this for a couple more years than I have, and seeing other content creators having discussions. So when it comes to anime, manga, comic books, and other stuff, I've been into the known for years, and I know my content creators. I know the in and outs, the old ones and new ones. But when it comes to pro wrestling, it's been a new journey for me, and I've been having a great time. And understand, audience, we haven't announced or grappling the week or other projects yet because we're waiting for the right time, scheduling. We want to produce good content for you guys to also get good entertainment, because at the end of the day, we know we're not the only ones out there. There's other versions of what we could produce and others, but what makes us special is what we produce. It makes us unique at the end of the day.
it is true. That is very true. And that's the one thing the most that we want to do is do something that really stands out for you guys that you can really sink your teeth into, and you can listen to us when you're at home, you're at work, you have us connected to like Bluetooth in the car or whatever. It's like we just want to provide you guys some entertainment. So it's a pretty big milestone, like I mentioned to Vash. We're the 100th episode of Weebs of the Ring. That's pretty big when it comes to a milestone being already doing 100 episodes, counting the PLEs that we cover throughout the year as well. It's just pretty crazy to think about.
We're jumping into season 2 of next year of Weebs of the Ring content, the journey. Our flagship show is the Weebs of the Ring content of the main flagship of Pro Wrestling Entertainment show is the company of WWE. That'll be our main show that we always cover in the future. Once we announce Grappling of the Week, we have short form content, others that you'll be seeing in the future. And I can't wait to see. Hopefully, there's one company that would like to see improve is AEW. As much that we talk shit about them, I don't want no other company to do bad because at the end of the day, I want them to produce good content. And they have the right type of superstars. I want them to actually get back to good scripting, good writing at the end of the day. I would love to say something positive about AEW, and I see their potential. I was there for the potential. I was there for the rise. I do not want to see they fall. That's my one positive thing I would love to see.
Yeah, because like Seth Rollins mentioned on the show tonight, when it came to the competition, I mean, if it wasn't for AEW, WWE wouldn't be as good as it is now. So it's always great to have competition, to always competing to see who's better than who. So at least it gives us the best of both worlds. It's something to tune into every week. But yeah, that was our show, guys. So
yes, that's our show. Before Drop gives the outro, as always, I'm gonna give the quick plugs. Chat, if you know where to find us, if you don't know, as you see in the lower third of our banner is Animal Week 3 Studio. Hashtag Weebs of the Ring, but also we have a social media of Weebs of the Ring, like it's spelled down below, all together on TikTok, Blue Sky, IG, on all the social media platforms, and as our personal handles, as your host, Legend Vash, Drop This Box, Watkins MW. We're all on social media out there. They have their personal channel of Drop This Box where he posts all of his content that he likes to talk about for Watkins as well. And for Animal Week 3 Studio, we have the Vault channel of our past and history that you could see of the content we have made before. We became the new phase, and now we have the main channel that we posted the Off the Bench and the Anime League podcast, and soon to be shown Rollins, and the spin-off channel where it's about the Weebs of the Ring, where anime and wrestling collide. So you see all the entertainment in one channel, one hub. We hopefully you're entertained by it. And chat and audience, we appreciate you for being with us weekly, and hopefully you're with us in the future with more content to come.
It's true. So,
and a big shout out to Chad. I want a big shout out to Beacon of Bacon, because they're saying that wish Watkins was a part of the show. He said that he wasn't here for episode 100, and Watkins said, "Sorry, Beacon, I have been under the weather as for the past couple of days with no voice, but he's gonna try to be back this coming Friday for the new year, if not next Monday as well."
Yeah. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your night to listen to the Weebs of the Ring podcast. If you enjoyed what me and Vash had to say on tonight's show, why not do exactly what Vash said? We are known as Weebs of the Ring on all social media platforms. And also be sure to use the hashtag Weebs of the Ring to interact with us about anything regarding wrestling before, during, or after our shows. Feedback is always appreciated, as we are nothing without you guys tuning in. Weebs of the Ring is presented by Anime Studio. Thanks to our production team for all of their hard work. Thank you once again for joining us. And remember, no stunt grannies were harmed in the recording of this podcast. Have a good night, everybody. Have a happy new year. And we will see you guys on episode 101 on SmackDown for the 3-hour premiere. So, see you guys then.
We see you next year.